that he was just so emotionally unstable after the game on Wednesday night that he just put it down to that. It wasn't sort of any reflection upon him actually feeling like he's going to resign. But it is a worry because he does look like he obviously wears his heart on his sleeve. He speaks with truth beyond probably a level that anybody in the media would expect, let alone the press officers at Manchester United. And yesterday I was at the ground. I went to the stadium to watch the game. I thought first half United should have been probably a couple up. But when it goes in at 1-0 at half-time, you sort of have a sense of what's coming in the second half. And Burnley got better in the game. And yeah, that late sort of penalty was a big moment for him. But look, it gives him a couple of weeks during the international break. But United do have really tough fixtures after the international break. They play City and Chelsea straight away. So it's not going away, this one. And the interviews, I think, are just going to have to settle down a little bit. I'm not saying he needs media training because we like it, obviously. We want managers to be expressive. We want them to speak the truth to us. But there are moments whereby I think he leaves statements hanging in the air and you're thinking, what did that mean? I think if he's clear about what he means when he speaks, that's fine. But sometimes when you say some of the things that he says, you're thinking, well, does that mean he's resigning? Does that mean he's being sacked? Does that mean he hates his players? He doesn't like his players? He likes his players? It's a bit all over the place.
As you say, though, Gary,
OK, welcome along again. Let's get straight into it. We're going to start with Manchester United. The Sunday Times headlining that late win against Burnley on Saturday afternoon. And the headline, almost too much to bear. Days after shootout agony against Grimsby, United are rescued by a 97th minute penalty. But again, Amorim can't watch. Alison, good morning to you. Just put into context how big a win this was for Manchester United yesterday.
Well, it was a big win, but I would disagree with anyone headlining that it was a huge relief and a step forward. I mean, to struggle to defeat Burnley, who I think are going to have a tough time away from home in the Premier League. They were able to match United for parts of the match. They looked like they'd secured a draw. We're talking, last-minute drama here. It's a bit unseemly, I think, for a club of the stature of Manchester United to be so celebratory of clinching that very late winner against a club that's just been promoted. I don't think it speaks of a huge step forward. I think if they'd lost, then the headlines would have been very different, obviously, and it would have been, is this the last game we see Ruben Amorim in charge? But I wouldn't go so far as to say, oh, what a relief. Isn't life great now for Ruben Amorim at Manchester United? I think a lot of the mere fact that you get slated for your behaviour at a penalty shootout in the EFL Cup by being unable to watch the penalties and to do the same thing again in a Premier League game shows you're not listening to the mood music. You're not getting what's making people nervy and worried about you as manager of Manchester United.
Just picking up on what Alison said there, Charlie, if we look inside the Sunday Times, it's actually referring to what you said. Jonathan Northcroft's piece says, United in 2025, even beating Burnley is big.
Yeah, I mean, it just sort of seems to me nothing's really changed from last season. They've obviously got a much better forward line, and there was a lot of hope that they'd start flying really well, and they did well against Arsenal, didn't they? Obviously they lost, but it's still a bit of a shambles there, and I think Amorim's making it worse, isn't he? Not just the defeat to Grimsby, but as Alison said, just not watching the penalties and then not learning from it, and I think in any work environment, a boss not watching what's going on. I mean, my boss probably, when my match reports land with a few late goals, probably not looking at the screen. But generally, it's just poor form, and I don't know what message he sent to the players. The next few weeks, I still think his job hangs in the balance. I don't think yesterday's result makes a blind bit of difference.
We'll come to that in a moment, Julian, but I just want to pick out something that Jonathan said in this piece. It was all there in the body language, how excruciating, how precarious this young manager is still finding this job. Also, a million miles from Fergie, who would stand with the burning stare of his forever fixed on his players. But these are different times, and in these times for United, even beating Burnley is big. Is that where Manchester United are right now?
Yeah, I think so, and that's where Ruben Amorim is as well, and that's part of the problem. I don't think he's got the personality to lead this team, and this is it. It's Manchester United we're talking about here, and to be the manager of Manchester United, you need all those qualities to be the leader, to be strong when things are not doing well. You mentioned Ferguson, when things were not doing well, was still that leader. And yeah, he turned things around, took a bit of time. But Ruben Amorim is just not that guy. And I don't think this job is for everyone. And I don't think it's for him.
But if the producer of this show stood in the corner of the room, and as we were talking, he had his head in his hands, we'd all think, oh, what are we doing wrong?
Probably has.
But we would start thinking, we're doing something wrong, we're full of self-doubt. What you want is someone smiling, giving you the thumbs up, looking confident in you, looking like, reflecting the fact you've had chats in the week, you've had training sessions. And if the manager's confident of how the training sessions are going, that should be reflected in his touchline demeanour, surely.
So imagine then the producer coming on Sky Sports News and saying, oh, I hate Alisson and Charlie and Jules and Dams. And then us hearing that, like Amorim said on Friday in his press conference, I hate my players. I want to quit. I don't want to be here. I'm scared. And yes, he also said, sometimes I love them. This is not how he should behave.
Are we overreacting, maybe? If we look to the Sunday Mirror, because despite this win, there is still huge speculation over Ruben Amorim's future. Rue going, bosses fear Amorim will walk out at Old Trafford, players exasperated at his tactics, supported in the transfer market but still a struggle, Grimsby dugout antics, a red flag for United Chiefs. Do you think he will still be there? Because after that Grimsby game, he did actually say, yes, we've got to win on Saturday against Burnley, and then in the international break, we will sort things out. It was quite a cryptic message, and a lot of people were speculating what that actually means. Does it mean sorting it out with him not there?
I think with him and Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the people above him, which he did already at the end of last season, let's not forget that he had a big meeting with them and said, listen, if I'm the problem, I'm leaving. And I really don't think he's enjoying all of this, really. This is not him. And it showed a bit of immaturity, I think, this press conference on Friday, not watching the penalties, being all the struggles. And yes, he's very emotional. He said that again after the win yesterday, but it's the immaturity that strikes me really here. And I think he's capable of not walking out, but saying to them, if you think I'm the problem here, if I can't find the solutions, fix this, then yeah, it's time to go each one.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see him lasting. And in terms of we'll sort things out in the international break. We've had the summer to do that, and it still looks a bit of a mess. And just again going back to not watching the penalties, I just think that will be seen as the sort of, the iconic moment of his spell in charge. A bit like Steve McLaren and the Wally and the Brolly, and when he was on the pitch side at Wembley in the rain against Croatia. I think that, and bearing not forgetting it was a terrible result against Grimsby as well. And if he recovers from this and Manchester United recover under Amorim, I hope they do. But I'll be surprised if he's able to turn it around.
Man United suffer blow as Matheus Cunha has to go off injured against Burnley, with Benjamin Sesko snubbed by Ruben Amorim in bizarre decision. Manchester United star Matheus Cunha had to be substituted due to injury during the first half of his side's game at home to Burnley. Cunha, who joined United from Wolves this summer, was withdrawn in the 31st minute at Old Trafford. Somewhat surprisingly, it was Joshua Zirkzee was chosen to replace Cunha rather than Benjamin Sesko. Sesko has endured a difficult start to his United career following his switch from RB Leipzig. The striker was reluctant to take a penalty during United's shootout defeat against Grimsby in the Carabao Cup in midweek, and ended up being the final outfield player who was called upon. Although he managed to convert, Sesko received some criticism for not stepping up earlier. Manchester United's Matheus Cunha had to be substituted due to injury against Burnley. Cunha suffered the problem in the 31st minute of the game at Old Trafford. United surprisingly elected to bring on Joshua Zirkzee for Cunha instead of Benjamin Sesko. Ruben Amorim's side lost 1-0 at home to Arsenal in their first Premier League game of the season before drawing away to Fulham.